Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I've never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Toadstool Sports. Thursday, April 9th. We were 2-0. 2-2. 2-0. That would have been a lot better. 2-2 on the show yesterday. We lost with the Brewers, although I guess I can be happy that my Boston Red Sox are on a winning streak. Whoever thought that would happen? They actually won more than one game in a row? No, that's not possible. Sonny Gray actually was pretty good in the game. Drohan had kind of one bad inning, and that was pretty much it. That was really all that was necessary because the Brewers didn't even score. We had an easy win with Seattle, Texas, under 3-0 was the final in that game. Seattle got shut out. So Texas, dude, I think Mackenzie Gore, man, I think he's actually good, and a lot of it comes down to how good or how bad are these pitching coaches on some of these teams. Interesting what's going on there, man. And then, we lost on Tampa Bay. Not happy about it. That was the series where the previous game had that. You guys have seen that play now, the viral pop-up in the 9th inning, I think, in the previous game down the right field line, and that morbidly obese person moved in the completely wrong direction to try to either catch it or avoid it, or I don't know, and fell down, and their pants fell down, and you saw their ass. And everybody was talking about it, like, assuming the person's a guy. And I'm like, I kept rewatching this over and over again because it's, like, so ridiculous. But I'm like, I think it's a woman, dude. I'm pretty sure that was a woman. It's when you get to be that overweight, man, you just become an amorphous blob, a genderless blob. I don't even know, man. But yeah, that was bad yesterday. The Cubs hit a home run literally in the first at bat. Horny, hit a home run immediately, and the game was pretty much out of hand early on. We did take the loss there, and then we did get an easy win with the hockey play. Washington, 4-0 win there. It was 3-0 going into the third period. Might have been an empty net at the end. I don't know. I stopped paying attention to it pretty much. But it was good that that was one of the ones we got right because that was the heavier favorite that we had. So if you did what I recommend with how you set up the money lines where you play them all to win the same amount, yesterday was actually a slight win, believe it or not, of like $20 or something because one of the losers was an underdog. The other loser was a reduced juice favorite, if you want to call it that. And then we did win on the heavier favorite. So, yeah, I'll take it, I guess. Dirty Sock, what's up? Kyle, what's up? Rio, what's up? Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Your unit size. So, all right. So you should have a bankroll. Like, you do not want to bet more than you can afford, right? So you want to set aside your bankroll, whatever that amount is, and basically what I would say, I have one bet size pretty much, and it is 1%. 1% of bankroll is what it is. So say, your bankroll is $30,000. I would bet to win $300 on every single play, and I don't even like vary it between those. But what I would say is some of the professionals, they do weigh their bets a little bit differently, and I would say they go from between probably about 0.5% all the way up to like 1.5% of their bankroll for the bets. So like, I guess in my case, I would say if you have a $30,000 bankroll, I guess your bets could potentially range between like 100 and 500. I would say you would not want to exceed a $500 bet with a bankroll of that size, and that should be restricted to like the absolute like best ones that you have if you're doing it that way. But I just do it to win 300 every single time pretty much, except for prop bets. Like, I don't really do props, but like Super Bowl props, because you have so much volume there, and I might have 4 or 5 props on one game. I make each one of those a third of that size, if that makes sense. So 3 of those bets basically add up to 1, if that makes sense. That's how I do it. Yeah, I mean, you got to be disciplined. You got to not over bet, which is one of the main hurdles that people have to get over, is to not bet too much. Also, don't chase, like, because you're going to lose some of these bets. You should not chase, like, on a play that you don't think is a strong play. Just, you have opportunities to bet every single day, you know what I mean? So take the loss for that day, start over fresh, find the best bets the next day, and just keep doing what works, what you do. You know what I mean? So that's what I'll say. Going back to betting 101 there. I don't know. I did have a betting 101 video, the first video I did on this channel. I don't remember how much of that I really talked about, but all right, let's get into it. I'm going to try to keep this show not that long today. We have a massive hockey board today, but there isn't a whole lot else going on, and I actually don't have any plays today. The board is a pussy today. I'm skipping the whole thing, man. I apologize. I know you guys want bets. I'm going to give you my opinions on these games. I just don't think anything is strong enough here. Baseball, we have 3 afternoon games, which are all series that are continuing, that are finishing. And then we also have 3 new series that are starting, I think. Or actually, I think Arizona and the Mets, I think, is continuing, because I think they started yesterday. And then these other 2 games, I think, are new series that are starting today. So Cincinnati and Miami, this is a 4-game series. Miami got the win yesterday, so they're 1-2 in the series now. Miami, nice bullpen performance from them in the game yesterday, I believe. Now, Miami's bullpen, they've been decent. I have them 14th right now. This is based on whip. I just try to keep things simple, man. But, of course, it's still kind of a small sample size to really be trying to figure it out. And we actually have the Reds 7th best right now. So these bullpens have both actually been pretty good. Batting, Miami did start pretty hot offensively because they were playing some bad teams. They're actually still up there. They're 4th. So Miami actually has had the better hitting, and the Reds have had the better bullpen so far, believe it or not. Reds are actually a bottom several offense right now. It's still taking me a while to get used to what's going on here. As far as the bullpen usage, I don't think there was a huge difference between the 2. Cincinnati used 3 guys yesterday. Miami used 4. So, I'm not going to have too much of a difference there. I think Cincinnati does have a little bit of a bullpen edge, though. Rhett Lauder is pitching for Cincinnati. I think he's good. He's going under the radar right now. I mean, we played an under, I believe, or maybe a first 5 under in his last start against Texas, and he didn't allow any runs in his entire start. He's been good in his first 2 starts, other than the fact that he does have kind of too many walks, 4 walks, 9 strikeouts. I don't love that. But, the strikeout rate's not that high. The walk rate is a little bit too high, but he's keeping offenses in check, man. And Miami's never seen him before, so I think that is an extra edge for him here. I like when these young pitchers who are actually fairly good just are totally unfamiliar to the opposing lineup, because the lineup sometimes has to see them a couple of times to get their bearings. So that all looks good. Max Meyer is pitching for Miami. Thought he was going to be a pretty good pitcher, man. It hasn't really panned out for him. He did have to face the Yankees in his last outing, so maybe you should give him a little bit of a pass for that. But he does have an 11-5 strikeout walk ratio so far this year, so that's not exactly good. I think he is probably right now the lesser of these 2 pitchers. He's not in as good of form And his numbers against the Reds are not that good. In 28 at-bats, 357 average allowed, 1,007 OPS. It's not a huge sample, and I kind of think Meyer at some point is going to turn it back around, but it does look like Cincinnati does have the edge here, and I think they do have a slight bullpen edge as well. So I'm going to lean Cincinnati here, and the money is agreeing with me. Miami already dropped from -121 to -109, so you might even see the favorite flip here. 60% of tickets, 70% of the cash on Cincinnati. I think maybe some of the professional bettors are coming around to this Louder guy actually being good, and not just because he has a mullet and a mustache and and looks badass. You know, I don't know. The more that I'm thinking about this, this is probably one of my stronger opinions. I don't think I quite want to actually do it, but Cincinnati would be my lean in that one. That would be money line. A's at the Yankees. The A's actually got the win yesterday. I'm pretty surprised by that. Will Warren wasn't even bad in the game. Like, if you thought the A's were going to do something in that game, you probably thought they were going to get to Will Warren, but I thought the Yankees were going to put up an offensive performance in that game, especially because they were lackluster in the previous game, and that didn't happen at all. I thought the Yankees would, after coming off that scare, I thought they would have a better performance. That didn't happen. Although as a Red Sox fan, I guess I'm happy the Yankees lost. Now, the series is even at 1-1. I think both teams are going to show up for this. We don't have a great pitching matchup in this one, and I do think the Yankees probably have the advantage in every phase of this game. We got Yankees have used 4 relief pitchers. That's what they did yesterday. The A's used 4 as well, but we know that the A's have a terrible bullpen, so you got to give the Yankees a bullpen edge. They've been better this year than last year as well. Yankees have the better offense as well, and the A's offense, even though I think they're going to be better than what they've shown so far, they have not been good to start the season. So Yankees do have the edge in both of those departments. Jerkle, what's up, man? I really don't recommend either parlays or home run props, because I think in both cases the books screw you. Like, I think that they charge you, like, they don't give you good enough odds on either of those things, on parlays or on home run props, because home run props, everybody wants to bet them. Oh, I'm going to bet this player to hit a home run in this game. But even the best home run hitters, like, Ohtani or whatever, they're only going to hit a home run once every, 10 or 11 at bats. And even, the odds that you get on them are the odds that you should get if the guy was going to hit a home run, once every, 3 at bats or something. They really, really screw you on those. So I don't know if I can make a recommendation on that. My player prop recommendations are, even though I don't do them personally, my player prop recommendations are always hits plus runs plus RBIs is what I recommend. And what I do is I find a specific player that really is good against a specific pitcher. But I'm going to break down all these games here, and you'll see the player stats against each one of these pitchers, so maybe that'll give you some indication of players to maybe target for player props today, if that's helpful at all. So with the A's, the Yankees here, those first 2 pitchers, there really aren't any hitters that have that much experience against them, though. Like Max Meyer, I don't know. The player who hits him the best is Stevenson, I guess, but he's 2 for 3 with the home run, and De La Cruz is 3 for 6 with 2 doubles. So, those guys could be guys to maybe target there, but I'm recommending against parlays and home run props, though, because I think it's just not a long-term winning strategy. Jeffrey Springs is pitching for the A's here. He's been pretty good to start the season. He had a really good start against a hot Houston lineup in his last outing. Held them to 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's pretty good, even though he did walk too many guys in his first outing against Toronto. Believe it or not, he is actually good against the Yankees, but it's a small 33 at-bat sample size. But he's only allowed 1 extra base hit to them, 182 average allowed, 520 OPS. None of the Yankees hitters had particularly good numbers against him. 16-6 strikeout walk ratio there, which isn't terrific, really. It looks like he kind of intentionally walks Goldschmidt, but Springs seems to match up okay against the Yankees. That's not to say he's actually going to do well here, but historically it looks okay for him. Ryan Weathers is pitching for the Yankees. He has not lived up to what I thought he might do. Once the Yankees start getting their injured starters back, Weathers is going to be out of the lineup, although I thought he was out of the rotation. I thought he was a decent pickup for them, but he hasn't been very good. He's had 5 walks so far in 8 innings. 11 strikeouts is good. So really his wildness has been the main issue, but he's in pretty bad form right now. The A's don't really have anybody that hits him well, though. The Rooker does have a home run off him, so take from that what you want to, but that's the only hit they have against him in 12 at-bats, 1 strikeout, no walks. So Weathers is pretty unfamiliar with him. It looks like he has the somewhat better numbers here, but it's such a small sample size, you can't even really gauge that. Like, I think Springs has the better numbers on the season. Weathers has the better matchup numbers slightly, but again, it's such a small sample size, I almost want to just throw it out. But he is also the less familiar pitcher to the opposing lineups, which might be a little bit of an advantage for him. This game is so hard to figure out. Yankees are at minus 215 now, all the way up from minus 165. I don't know what caused a move like that. Usually only a pitcher change will move the line that much, or maybe pregame just might have fucked up and gotten that opener wrong. 83% of tickets, 89% of the cash on the Yankees. I got really nothing on this one, man. You could maybe see it as a bounce back spot because the Yankees have so many edges in different phases of this game. Maybe you could look towards the Yankees to do this in some way, but they don't do well against Springs usually. So, I don't know if I love that either. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, maybe the better way to look at this game is a first 5 inning under because you got both starters might actually have a little bit of a matchup edge here against the offenses. 88% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the over. So the money looks like it is somewhat indicating towards the under, and it's already dropped down to 8 on the total here. I would keep it to the first 5, though, because I do not want to do anything with the A's bullpen other than fade them, I mean. But that's a really difficult game to try to figure out any way of attacking it. Detroit at Minnesota. Detroit's trying to avoid a sweep here, so I think you will see a motivated effort from them, which I thought you would last night. And Framber Valdez, I guess, had a bad game last night. I haven't looked into the box score yet, but Minnesota, they might have a 4-game sweep here against Detroit, which who would ever think that would be the case? Because Minnesota is clearly not the better team here. They've been the underdog in every game here. Minnesota's bullpen stinks. They used most of it yesterday as well. They used 5 relief pitchers. That's not good either for them coming into this one. Detroit only used 3. So Detroit seems to have a lot of advantages here. I think they have the better bullpen, although their bullpen is down at 20th now in whip. Minnesota's is still worse at 26th. Offensively, Detroit's 13th right now, and I order this by OPS, which I think is a little bit of a better indicator. Minnesota's 17th. So not a huge disparity there on the season, but I still think Detroit is better in both of those aspects. And I think they probably have the better pitcher here, too, even though I'm not really a fan of Jack Flaherty, and his numbers are pretty bad so far this year. He's only gone 8 1/3 innings in 2 starts so far. One of them was in a pitcher-friendly San Diego park, and the other was against a weak St. Louis team. And San Diego's offense has been terrible, too. So it's really not a good sign that he's allowed almost a run in an inning, and he's got an 8.8 strikeout walk ratio. That's all bad. Flaherty is bad, dude. But he might be the way to look at this game. Against Minnesota, his numbers are not that bad. In 82 at-bats, 22-3 strikeout walk ratio. I mean, they're really familiar with him, but that's a good strikeout walk ratio. 232 average, 710 OPS allowed. So those numbers are good. I mean, if you want players that hit him fairly well, there's not a whole lot to see here. It's mostly small sample size guys. Larnach, 2 for 3 with a home run. Lee, 2 for 2 with a home run. And Keyshaw, I don't know how you pronounce his name, 2 for 2 with 2 doubles. Those seem to be the guys that have hit him the best, but they all have really small sample sizes. Overall, it looks like Flaherty does fairly well against this Twins lineup. He's going up against Mick Abel, who was traded over from Philadelphia. Still a young guy, still definitely has room to get his career off the ground here, but it's on the ground right now, man. I mean, his numbers are as bad, if not worse, than Flaherty's. He's allowed more than 1 run an inning. He's allowed almost 2 hits per inning on top of allowing almost a walk an inning. I mean, this is ridiculous. His whip is almost 3 across 2 starts so far. 7-7 strikeout walk ratio. Really, really bad against Baltimore and Tampa Bay, so not exactly the most potent of lineups here. I suppose the one advantage he does have here is Detroit's never faced him before, so sometimes a young pitcher does have that edge. Like I said, if the opposing lineup has never seen him before, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. I mean, Abel just looks like he's not going to be able to have a great pitching career, man. I don't know. There really aren't good signs here. I like Detroit in this game. I think they're going to be a little bit extra motivated. They're the better team, and they're on the verge of getting swept in a 4-game series here. They're at minus 131, so it's a price that's I don't know, it's a digestible price, let's say, although Flaherty is just so bad, dude. 86% of the tickets, 95% of the cash on Detroit's the money, sort of indicating that way. I would not disagree with an over in this game. 72% of the tickets and 75% of the cash on the over. I mean, both these pitchers are in such bad form right now. If they get knocked out, bullpens have to come in early. Minnesota's bullpen is particularly bad. Detroit's is not great so far this year. Over, would maybe even be the preferable way to play it. But, those would be my opinions. There would be Detroit money line and over would probably be the ways I would look in that game. Arizona at the Mets. I was correct about that game going over last night. The 7.5 just seemed ridiculous in a Ryan Nelson, David Peterson matchup. You knew at least one of them was going to suck, and it happened to be Peterson yesterday. The Mets lost a 4-game win streak, so sometimes the team that loses a win streak, it'll hang them over into the next game. But then again, maybe they bounce back because it was an ugly loss yesterday. Arizona has a terrible bullpen, though. They only used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, though, and Thompson only for 3 pitches, so that's not that bad. The Mets only used Manaea, who is no longer in their rotation, I guess. Unfortunate for him, but he's basically just the long relief guy now, but he saved the rest of their bullpen. So I think the Mets have a pretty significant bullpen edge, a little bit more rested, plus the better bullpen. Mets so far have had the better offense as well. Looking at the numbers so far, this is the offensive numbers here. Diamondbacks, you would think, would have a good offense again, especially because their pitching kind of stinks. Last year, it was all hitting from them, but they're 22nd in OPS so far. The Mets are 10th, so the Mets have had the better offense so far this year. Bullpen ERA-wise, the Mets are 8th, and the Diamondbacks are 17th. But their bullpen ERA is terrible. I can tell you their bullpen is really, really bad. Looking at the starting pitching matchup, this looks like a big-time mismatch as well. Eduardo Rodriguez against Nolan McLean. Like, I look at that, and I'm like, yeah, that's a huge advantage to the Mets as well. Erod is actually pitching well this season so far. He's not allowed to run yet, and he faced the Dodgers and Atlanta. So 2 teams that are not that bad, although I know Atlanta hasn't been hitting that well, but the Dodgers, very prolific offense. Erod's been good, although it seems like his velocity's a little bit down from where it once was. His strikeout rate, not that high, but he's getting a ton of ground balls so far. And he's allowed no runs, so you can't really argue with it. Against the Mets, his numbers are okay. They've seen a lot of them, 104 at-bats, 25-8 strikeout walk ratio's fine, 250 batting average, 707 OPS allowed. If you want a player prop here, Bo Bichette specifically has really good numbers against him, 5 for 13 with 2 home runs. So there's maybe a way to attack it there. But again, I like hits plus runs plus RBIs personally. But other than him, not a whole lot going on with the Mets lineup against Erod. Nolan McLean is pitching for the Mets. You know I'm a fan of him. He's still under the radar a bit, I think, for now. He's got a 12-4 strikeout walk ratio so far this season. He's allowed only 5 hits in 10 1/3 innings. That's good stuff. Not that he faced the best offenses, Pittsburgh and San Francisco, in a pitcher-friendly park, but still, I think, dude, McLean, I think he's probably the real deal. I believe he made his major league debut last year, and he's looked good pretty much since then. And the Dbacks have never faced him before, so that should be an extra advantage to him. These young, talented pitchers, they got an extra advantage when the opposing lineup has never seen them before. So I like the Mets in this game. I think they have advantages in most phases, but I look at what's going on in the market, and it really worries me. The Mets are at minus 160, which maybe the professional bettors are thinking that's a bit too high of a number. I mean, Erod is pitching well so far this year, so maybe not totally like he's not total fade material right now. 93% of tickets, 96% of the cash on the Mets. I still like the Mets here, but maybe the price is too much there. It looks like they're a very public side. The money looks like it's also indicating on the under, but the total is sitting at 7. Again, maybe the pitching staff's getting too much credit here. Like, I could see, especially if one of these pitchers struggles, I would guess it's going to be Rodriguez. I could see that happening, and maybe and Arizona's bullpen, they are not a bullpen that I would trust to keep a total under a number as low as 7. So, I mean, maybe there is a way to attack this with, like, going Mets over their team total possibly. So you could do that. That maybe that's even the better approach, because then you get, I would say, a slightly questionable starting pitcher and a very bad bullpen. And the Mets have the ability to attack those things. So Mets over their team total is something I wouldn't really disagree with, but that's another game where it's kind of hard to find an angle, even though it seems like the Mets do have advantages throughout that game. Mr. Pinsey, what's up, man? Yep, yeah, I got to be selective, man. I think I'm becoming a little bit more selective, but yeah. I thought I would find something in hockey today at the very least, but I have not found it. All right, White Sox in Kansas City. We still don't really know what Kansas City's what their stadium is doing to the home run ball right now. We need to wait until it warms up a little bit because they moved their wall in a little bit because it was a really pitcher-friendly park. I'm still guessing it's not going to be like a really hitter-friendly park all of a sudden, but we still don't really know, so it's just something to keep in the back of your head. This is a new series that's starting. Kansas City just lost to Cleveland, and they got blown out yesterday. Now they're returning home, but it's not really a bad return home spot because they're only returning home from a single series road trip to Cleveland, so I'm not too worried about that. The White Sox are coming off getting swept by Baltimore, so maybe they could be in bounce-back mode too, although they're not really a good team, but starting a road trip might be good for them to just get out of home where things just started going poorly for them. And we did get a win on Baltimore in the middle of that series. For the White Sox, things just aren't really good for them at all, man. I mean, their bullpen is ranked 25th right now in terms of whip. That's pretty bad. Kansas City has not had a good bullpen performance so far this year either, but they're ranked higher somewhere. Where are they at? I think they are. Whoa, I'm wrong about that. My mistake. Royals are dead last. My mistake. So we have two really bad bullpens, actually, right now. Although I keep thinking the Royals are going to turn it around because their bullpen was good last year. I don't know. It's very surprising. That's why I couldn't find them. It's surprising they're dead last right now. I still think they might not be the worst bullpen here, though. As far as the hitting is concerned, the Royals actually have been hitting fairly well. They're in the middle of the pack here. White Sox are right near the bottom. So, yeah, I agree that the Royals are the better offense. So I don't think that's a shocker or really that questionable. Although last year both offenses were pretty bad. As far as the bullpen usage, Kansas City used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, fairly heavily, but kind of more their long relief type of guys. The White Sox used 5, so the White Sox used more relief pitchers yesterday. So I don't really trust the White Sox pitching here. And Anthony Kay is pitching, so that makes it even worse for the White Sox because I think he's only made 1 start this year. He's mostly been a reliever, and I think it might have been a spot start. You look at his career numbers, he's been around since 2019, and it's not good. 5.44 ERA, 1.58 whip over his career. Not a good strikeout walk ratio, way too many walks. I mean, this guy, he's not good, needless to say. He has not made it 5 innings in either of his appearances this year. He has more walks than strikeouts, 5 to 6 strikeout walk ratio. There's nothing to really like about Kay here. Going up against Kansas City, let me see. They don't have a whole lot of experience against him, though. They're actually 0 for 3 with a strikeout off of him. But I don't think he's going to pitch well based on his career numbers and the fact that he's in his 30s and his career numbers are that ugly. I'm expecting not good stuff from the White Sox pitching in this one, man. So that's going to kind of lead me to what I think about this game here. I think the White Sox bullpen is ass. I think Kay might not last that long in the game and probably won't do well. Seth Lugo is obviously the more established pitcher here, and I know I always point out that the advanced analytics guys hate Seth Lugo, and they're constantly trying to fade him. But I keep looking at his numbers, and I'm like, dude, like, his whip is usually pretty low. Like, his numbers are usually fairly good. So far this season, he's been good. He just pitched pretty well against Milwaukee, and we know that they have a pretty potent offense. 10-2 strikeout walk ratio so far. I'm not complaining about Lugo's numbers here, man. They're good so far this year. Sure, I mean, he's not as good as this, but I still don't think he's a bad pitcher. And he's got a weak lineup that he gets to face here in the White Sox, and he's done well against them in the past. 33 at-bats against them, 182 batting average allowed, 465 OPS. 3-2 strikeout walk ratios, not good, but just not a lot of strikeouts there, really. But overall, yeah, he has good numbers against them. So I'm expecting the Royals are going to win this game, but they are a pretty big favorite. Minus 175, 88% of the tickets, 98% of the cash on the Royals. Doesn't seem like there's really a way to just attack that, because I do still worry that in a park like this, the Royals might not be able to get over like a run line if you're going to try to play them on the run line, which would be probably like a split bet, make your own -1 run line or something like that. I'm not really going to disagree with that. Maybe you could find, you could go over Kansas City's team total. I mean, we do have a pretty high total of 9 here, and the money's coming out on the over here, but I think the Royals are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting if this total is going to go over. Up against K plus the bullpen that has to come in for the White Sox here. To me, it looks like, it looks like Kansas City should do some offensive damage in this one. So Kansas City over their team total makes sense to me, although you're probably looking at 5.5 on that one, I would say. And asking Kansas City to do that is, it feels questionable because their offense just isn't one that like lights it up that much. But I think they might be able to here. So Kansas City over their team total kind of makes sense to me. Stacks, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, good morning, yes. Colorado at San Diego is the last game up. Colorado has not even decided on a starter yet, so this is a very difficult game to figure out. Colorado just swept Houston at home, which is pretty ridiculous, pretty crazy to think about. Could be maybe in letdown mode here, but then again, are they going to overlook a divisional opponent that's been better than they are for a long time? Starting a road trip with momentum? Maybe not. You could make the argument it's actually a positive spot for Chicago here, for Colorado here. I get them confused because they're both bad. San Diego's returning home from a road trip, and that's not exactly good. They were all the way out on the East Coast in Boston, and then they finished in Pittsburgh, coming back home now. And, I like to fade teams usually returning home from road trips because they can get distracted. They have to get back to home life. Maybe they won't take Colorado seriously after how bad they've been the last few years. San Diego has been the better team for a long, long time now. So I do think it's a bad spot for San Diego, and you could argue it's a better spot for Colorado with the start of the road trip. So situationally, I might be looking to fade San Diego, but looking at these teams' bullpens, I mean, I don't think you could really do much with Colorado's, although I guess they're rested at the very least because they only used one guy yesterday. For San Diego, generally, I would say they probably would have the better bullpen. They used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. But if you look at these stats, it's actually hilarious. The Rockies have the 4th best bullpen right now. That's not going to last, dude. I'm sorry. Padres are 11th right now. This is arranged by whip. But I don't actually think the Rockies are the better bullpen here. I really don't. They're more rested here. And maybe the bullpens are closer than you would think. I guess that's as far as I'll go with it. San Diego's offense has been struggling this season. They're 4th worst right now. Colorado's is actually in the middle of the pack, 11th based on OPS. So hilariously, it looks like Colorado has advantages in those areas of the game, which is ridiculous. Randy Vasquez is the listed starter for the Padres. He's got good numbers to start the season. Still kind of walking too many guys, but he only walked 1 against the Red Sox. I guess you can't really argue too much with allowing 1 run on 8 hits in 12 innings, 11 strikeouts, 4 walks, with 3 of them coming in the first game of the season. Vasquez has just been a guy that I've never trusted, though. Like, his career whip is 1.37. So I don't know how you trust that. You know what I mean? He pitches in a pitcher-friendly park, and he's never really improved on that. Like, he doesn't strike out a lot of guys, and his walk numbers is also too high typically. So I've never been a fan of this guy. But I guess he has shown some signs of doing a bit better. Like last season, he started doing better in the later part of the season. It would be hilarious if he does turn out to be good because the Yankees originally had him and got rid of him. So that would make me laugh. Against Colorado, that was Pittsburgh. My God. He does not do well against Pittsburgh, so you can keep that in mind. Against Colorado, his numbers are fine. In 71 at-bats, 15-3 strikeout walk ratio, 239 average allowed, 608 OPS allowed. I'm not really expecting Vasquez to do that poorly in this game. Very hard to handicap this because we don't know who Colorado's starting pitcher is even going to be. San Diego's minus 185 here. I would lean to Colorado, though, man. Like I said, I think maybe the game is a little bit closer than people are going to think. Based on the stats that we see so far this season, Colorado's far exceeded expectations so far. And again, it would mostly be a situational play, even though I don't do that as much in baseball. San Diego returning home cross-country, basically from a road trip. A lot of times that really affects the hitting, so their hitting might struggle a little bit more than you would think. And they haven't been good anyway this season. So, yeah, I would actually maybe take the shot with Colorado. Maybe like split the bet on the run line and the money line. That would be my thought on that game. That's not going to happen. Colorado to make the playoffs, there's absolutely no way. There's no way. No chance. The Dodgers are going to easily win that division, like without even trying. And then as far as the wild card is concerned, not going to happen. Colorado, I think they're going to still wind up in last place in the division. Arizona is pretty bad, though. Like, I guess it wouldn't shock me if Colorado winds up ahead of Arizona. I don't see them ending up ahead of any of these other teams, even though I don't even love San Diego or the Giants. I just don't see it. I could see that division only getting one team into the playoffs, just the Dodgers. And then the wild cards, I think you're probably going to get some sort of mix of, you saw what my playoff predictions were, like Mets, Cubs, although the Cubs lost Cade Horton now. Brewers look like they're already doing better than I thought they would. Maybe not taking a huge step back like I thought they might. Phillies are probably going to be in there. And then, you're looking at only like one more team getting in there. It wouldn't shock me if the Braves got back there because they were just so injury-plagued last year. And I know they are this year too, but they're playing a little bit better than expected. So I don't know. And then I know the Pirates had all that hype, but I kind of just still don't really see that. Yeah, you could have just flushed the $10 down the toilet. I mean, that's not going to happen. I don't know if you might be able to hedge at all towards the end of the season, but I don't think Colorado's going to be even close to making the playoffs. I do not. Like, their starting pitching is just, there's no way that it's anywhere near good enough. And neither is their bullpen, really. All right, so that's baseball for today. Still took 40 minutes to talk about 6 games. That's awesome. All right, let's go to hockey here. We have a ton of hockey, 14 hockey games, and I have not found a play in hockey today. Being really selective. We picked the right game yesterday because I was wrong about the other 2 games, but my strongest opinion was Washington, and they had an easy win. Toronto's playing again today, so they're on a back-to-back, playing in the first of this Hulu doubleheader here at the Islanders. Of course, I do have the standings up here, so what we're looking at here is we're looking at the Islanders still fighting to try to make the playoffs here. They're 3 points out of the playoffs. Toronto's an eliminated team, and they're on a back-to-back. So motivationally, the Islanders should have more. Toronto did get blown out last night, though, so it's that was that first game back home. One of the main reasons I faded them yesterday. And they're not really unrested because they did have 3 days off prior to that. So this is not like most back-to-backs, but they are having to travel to New York for this. I don't know how up they're going to get for it, man. It is still a back-to-back, but a lot of times when a team has a bad game in their return home and they get shut out at home, a lot of times you do want to look at them in the next game. And for the Islanders, everybody knows they're fighting to make the playoffs, so they might be a little bit overvalued here. They've been off since Saturday, so they've had a lot of time off, which might be good because they've lost 4 games in a row. So having days off does help disrupt that losing momentum. But they did have a close game against Carolina in their last game, so that does worry me a little bit. And their final 3 games are all at home against teams that are at least trying to make the playoffs. Ottawa and then Montreal and Carolina, who are both going to be in the playoffs. So those games are more important, but then the Islanders might also be thinking, well, we need to, we have to win this game because the other games are more difficult. But the Islanders are up to minus 255 here, dude, from minus 205. That's ridiculous. Like, I don't think the Islanders should be favored by this much in any situation against anybody. So I think that price is just too high. Yes, I think the Islanders will win the game, probably, but there's no way that I could lay that price. I don't want to do anything with Toronto either here, really, but if you forced me, I would probably lean towards maybe Toronto on the puck line or something. Maybe the Islanders escape in like a close game here or something like that. I can't do anything with that game, though. Columbus at Buffalo. Columbus is going to have to be the more motivated team here. They're 2 points out of the last wild card right now. Buffalo is already in, but Buffalo, of course, you could make the argument they're fighting for seeding here or whatever, but I just don't think that's a huge motivator. You're going to get a desperate Columbus team here, and they're going to be the underdog, so that is the way that I like to look usually. The desperate underdogs, man, usually the way to go, even though people know they're in this like must-win scenario, when it's an underdog and that's obviously they're going to give you an effort. That is what you want. Columbus is coming off a big win over Detroit, though. But I don't think they're going to be in a letdown spot because this is a big game as well. They need it. That disrupted a 6-game losing streak, which is good. When you end a losing streak, it's like you get that monkey off your back. You can move forward with some new momentum. So I don't really hate that. For Buffalo, they just beat the Rangers yesterday, I'm pretty sure. So Buffalo is on a back-to-back and traveling back home. So the spot doesn't really help them rest-wise either. And for some reason, they put in an effort and beat the Rangers. Although we know the Rangers are still no good at home. But yeah, in this game, I would lean to Columbus in this one. Buffalo down from minus 130 to minus 123. It actually looks really easy to try to play the Buffalo side here. It looks too easy. 94% of the tickets. We don't really see the cash yet. But I think Buffalo's probably going to wind up being a public side or as public as a hockey team can be because the public doesn't usually play hockey, but hockey's like the biggest thing on the board today. I mean, hockey has the most games today, I should say. So maybe the public will be getting involved here. But yeah, I would play Columbus on the money line in that game if I was going to do it, but I still have my concerns about it. Although actually, more that I look at it, I kind of do like it, but I don't know. I just worry a little bit about Columbus coming off another big game, but that's really kind of the only concern with it. Tampa Bay at Montreal, both these teams are already going to be in the playoffs, so the motivation, there's no urgency here really for these two teams, but they are tied right now in the standings, fighting for seeding. I think Tampa is the better of the two teams. Tampa is coming off 2 straight losses that were fairly ugly, especially losing 6-2 to a very motivated Ottawa team, but also Vasilevsky did not play for Tampa in that game, so they did not use their better goalie there. I think they will use him in this game tonight. They did lose at home to Montreal back on March 31st, too, so they might actually have a little bit of extra motivation here to try to get Montreal back. I don't really think Montreal is going to overlook them, but maybe Montreal figures, hey, we beat them on the road, like we should be able to beat them at home. Montreal did just beat Florida, which these days is not that big of a deal, but maybe you still kind of feel pretty good about it because they've won the last 2 Stanley Cups. I'm going to lean to Tampa Bay in this game. I don't have that strong of an opinion on it, though. And I think the money was disagreeing with me when I looked. Oh, no, it's not now. Tampa Bay down from minus 120 to minus 116. So the market's coming to me, baby. My thoughts in my head are out there, man. Like, we're just being mind-controlled now. We're being mind-read. 61% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the Lightning. I agree with that side. I would lean to Tampa in that one. Florida at Ottawa. Now, this is a situation kind of like the first game that I talked about, Toronto and the Islanders, where that Ottawa is the only team with something to play for here, and they're sitting in the last wild card spot right now, but only with a 2-point lead over the next nearest team and 3 points over the next 3. So obviously they're not secure in that spot. Florida's already eliminated, but that means Florida can just play loose. They have nothing to play for now, and maybe they're going to try to get a win so they don't go winless on this road trip here. So they might actually show up, and they get a chance to play spoiler. Although, with a team like Florida, you've won the last 2 championships, and now all of a sudden you're not even making the playoffs. Sometimes that will kind of make you a dejected team, but they've already gone through that. Like, they've already been mathematically eliminated now for 1 or 2 games, so maybe they kind of right the ship here. However, they did just beat Ottawa 6-3 at home the last time they played them, so maybe they won't really care that much about Ottawa here. Ottawa needs the game, but that's going to be factored into the line. They did just smash Carolina and Tampa Bay. Those were 2 massive wins for Ottawa, beating those teams by a combined 12-5 score. That could put them in a bit of a letdown spot here, man. I think maybe the line's going to be, it's definitely going to be too big on Ottawa here. This could be a letdown spot for Ottawa. I don't really think they're going to lose, but they're up to minus 280, dude. I mean, come on. That is just way too high of a price. Up from minus 250 to minus 280. I think there's recency bias involved in that number after what Ottawa did in those last 2 games. I think the fact that they need to win pretty much is being factored in as well. If I was going to do anything with the game, I would lean to Florida and grab them on the puck line here. I mean, they might still show up just for some sense of pride here, maybe to play spoiler, whatever you want to call it. They get to at least play loose, whereas Ottawa, they're going to be in a high-pressure situation, and asking a big favorite to play in a high-pressure environment like that, that's not really what you want. It's a tight butthole situation there, man. 52% of tickets, 92% of the cash on Florida. I agree with looking towards Florida on the puck line there. I don't love it, though. I feel similarly to that about that game as I do to the Toronto and Islanders game. Philadelphia, Detroit, this is an interesting one because both teams are trying to make the playoffs. Flyers are currently in the 3rd spot in their division, so they're probably feeling a little bit more secure, but they're not really because they're tied with Ottawa, who's in the last wild card spot. And then Columbus, Detroit, who they're playing tonight, and the Islanders and the Caps are all right behind them. So it's a tricky situation here. Philadelphia also has looked maybe too good in their recent win streak. They've had 3 wins in a row where they've allowed 1 goal in each game. They just won 5-1 against a New Jersey team that's now out of it. I didn't think they would do as well as they did in that game. This is going to be a step up in class, but Detroit did beat them in Philadelphia in the last game they played, 4-2. The game before that, Philadelphia won in Detroit, so the road team has won the last 2 of these games. But yeah, so if the zigzag continues, I guess that would point towards Philadelphia, but I don't know if I love that. Detroit has been the team that's been playing worse recently, so the recency bias is probably going to be putting too much weight onto Philadelphia here. Detroit's lost 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6 games. That's pretty bad. They did just lose against another contending team, Columbus, in a shootout, which isn't that great, but that was as a home favorite, I'm pretty sure. So staying at home, I think you're going to get a better effort out of Detroit here. They're the team that looks worse recently, so the recency bias will be on the Philadelphia side. Like I said, Philadelphia might feel more secure in their spot here. The fact that they're in the playoffs right now, Detroit is not. I lean to Detroit here. You're getting actually a cheaper price on them now because it dropped from minus 135 to minus 114, so basically just a pick the winner. Philadelphia, 62% of tickets and cash on them right now, so it's really difficult to read, like, where is the cash disparity actually going to wind up in this game. But just based on the way that I read situations and stuff, I would lean slightly to Detroit in that one. And they might wind up being a little bit of an anti-public favorite, too. And, I like those anti-public favorites, man, because you're getting not really the better team necessarily, but the team that is supposed to win, basically, and the public doesn't even want them. So I do like that. Pittsburgh at New Jersey. Pittsburgh, they haven't clinched a playoff spot yet, but they're likely to be in, although they're only 4 points above the last wild card spot right now. But still, they're in a fairly secure spot at this point. They just beat Florida twice badly, 9-4 and 5-2. So they look maybe too good right now, and they haven't played since Sunday, but I think that's actually a problem. When you're winning a bunch of games, you do not want to have time off. Like, you don't want to have your momentum disrupted. Now they're having to go to New Jersey, and yeah, New Jersey's eliminated, but New Jersey, they don't have too many chances remaining to actually do anything. I think they're going to get up to play a team that's going to be in the playoffs. They're coming off a very ugly 5-1 home loss. I think New Jersey is going to show up with a better effort in this one. It's not their final home game yet, but I'm going to lean to New Jersey slightly here. Pittsburgh is taking some of the money. They flipped to a -109 favorite, but it looks like they're going to be public. 80% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on them. It looks way too easy to take Pittsburgh. Like, just asking you to pick the winner, and Pittsburgh obviously has the way better record. It looks so easy to play Pittsburgh. I just would not do that. I would lean towards the Devils in that one. Winnipeg and St. Louis. These two teams are... This is basically an elimination game. For the most part. Like, these two teams are falling out of contention here. Winnipeg, well, I mean, they're 4 points back of Nashville right now. St. Louis is a bit more out of it. They're 6 points back, or 5. No, 6. Yeah, 6. But, I think both teams will put in an effort here because neither team wants to fall here and basically be eliminated. Like, whoever loses this game is pretty much done, although I don't think either of these teams is going to make the playoffs at this point because there just aren't enough spots. Winnipeg just beat Seattle 6-2 in a return home spot, which should have been a bad spot for them, but they still got a blowout win. Now they've had a couple of days off. They're on a multiple-game winning streak. They will have Hellebuyck in net. Actually, this is hilarious because it's going to be the rematch of the Olympic final between Hellebuyck and Binnington. If they're both going to be in net here, that's going to be hilarious. And maybe Binnington has an extra motivational edge there to try to get Hellebuyck back a little bit in a game that is probably not going to matter as much. Although, right now it does matter to both teams, though. But I think Winnipeg coming off a big win like that, having to go back out on the road, it seems like a little bit of a tricky spot for them here. St. Louis is probably the slightly more urgent team as well because they're so close to being eliminated. They just lost in their return home game to Colorado after they beat Colorado to finish the road trip. So Colorado kind of zigzagged it, made the adjustments, played better in that game. It was a bad spot for St. Louis, too, because it was a return home. But now in the second game back home, a lot of times that is a better spot, and you will play better after you don't play well in that first game back home. I like St. Louis in this one. The money seems to pretty strongly agree with that. Winnipeg, 57% of the tickets on them, 98% of the cash on the Blues. They're at -111. I just don't feel that strongly about it, man. But it is a pretty strong market read towards St. Louis right now, and I do agree with it. So, yeah, St. Louis is my lean there, money line. Carolina at Chicago. Carolina, the only thing they got to play for is maintaining home ice, and I don't think that's that huge of a motivator here. They just had a big overtime win against the Bruins. I still think that's a pretty big game. Pretty big win. They are starting a road trip with momentum here. All the rest of the remaining games are on the road, so there's a pretty good chance Carolina's not going to wind up with the top overall spot in the conference. Maybe they will. This should be a game that they should win, but I don't know. It's a little bit tricky because people might think, well, people are going to look at this. Carolina's obviously the better team, and the public is probably going to be finding ways to try to play Carolina here. Chicago's got nothing to play for the rest of the season. They're playing all the rest of their games at home. But they might get up for a game against Carolina, Carolina. However, Chicago's returning home from a road trip, and that is kind of a problem. They've been on the road since my birthday a week ago. And they went to the Pacific Coast, and I talk about this. When teams return home from road trips, a lot of times they are not in the best focus spot, and they have to get back to home life, especially these teams that are eliminated. But the one thing that might keep Chicago focused is Carolina is a good team, so they might get up for the game for that reason. So I don't want to play this game. Carolina is public, 90% of the tickets, only 81% of the cash on them. They did drop from -235 to -220 here. So it looks like the money is kind of coming in on the Chicago side, thinking Carolina's probably too heavy of a favorite here. I kind of agree with that. I just think playing for seeding when you're already in the playoffs is not a huge motivating factor. I'd probably slightly lean towards the Chicago puck line there, but again, the return home spot kind of just has me completely off of it anyway. The second Hulu game is a really good game, actually, Minnesota and Dallas, but of course, both these teams are already in the playoffs. It's going to be interesting to see what the motivation is going to be here because these teams are jockeying for positioning at the very least. I don't know how much of a motivator that's going to be. Dallas currently has the home advantage here. This is what's really interesting about this is these two teams are already guaranteed to play each other in the first round of the playoffs, which is hilarious. And the only thing that's not determined yet is who's going to be the home team. So that's pretty interesting, pretty hilarious. Currently, Dallas would be the home team. So Minnesota might have a little bit of an extra effort here because they're currently not going to be the home team. But on the other hand, well, you got to kind of figure out, like, what are these teams going to do? Because these teams know they're going to play each other in the playoffs. So does that mean that they don't want to show everything, like tip their hand in this game? I don't know, man. I don't know if it means that or not because this game does have some meaning, and it's on Hulu. Like, both teams, I think, would prefer to have the home ice if they can, even though home ice isn't worth as much in hockey. Minnesota's won 4 games in a row. And maybe they look a little bit too good. And trying to gauge like what the public seems to think, the public seems to like Minnesota more than Dallas. And I think Dallas is actually the better team. Minnesota did beat Dallas in Minnesota 2-1 the last time they played on March 21st. Minnesota, you know, that might mean Dallas does have some adjustments that they can make here. Minnesota maybe looks a little too good recently. Dallas is coming up barely getting by Calgary. They had to go to overtime to beat Calgary on Tuesday, and they are staying at home, so that doesn't make Dallas look good either. They've been cold recently, but again, you know I talked about this. Once Dallas clinched a playoff spot, they just started coasting, basically. Like, they were on cruise control. That's why they lost some of those games. This might be a game where they actually show up. So, you know, overall, when I think about it, I think I do lean to Dallas in this one. They're at minus 120 here. So the odds makers are telling you these teams are very close to even in the power ratings, but I actually think Dallas is slightly better. 75% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Dallas. I wouldn't put much weight into that cash percentage. It's probably not accurate, but I do like Dallas in that game slightly. Not a strong opinion, though, man. Like, if you want my stronger opinions here, you know, Columbus, I think, is probably one. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the strongest one that I've talked about so far, really, but I still don't really love it. Calgary is at Colorado. I mean, you know Colorado's going to be a massive favorite here, but Colorado, do they really need to do anything at this point? I mean, nobody could catch them. They're 8 points ahead of Dallas. I mean, I guess technically I think they have not clinched the 1 seed yet. Actually, maybe they have. I guess the Z means they've clinched the division. So I think they have clinched the 1 seed. So Colorado just has nothing to play for pretty much at this point. They're playing one of the worst teams in hockey in Calgary. Calgary is finishing a road trip here, though, so it's not like the greatest spot for them because they've been on the road for so long. And they just played a couple of big games, man. They played Anaheim. They beat them. They almost beat Dallas. They lost to Dallas in overtime. That was a huge effort, and now you're asking them to put in another big effort here to try to beat Colorado. They might just not have enough left in the tank, man. That's the thing. Even though motivationally, yeah, they should get up for it, but how much are they going to have left in the tank? I don't know. Colorado is probably just going to sleepwalk here, though, because the last time these two teams played was March 30th, and Colorado beat them 9-2. So Colorado will probably just, you know, see Calgary as basically an ant and probably not, and I mean the insect, not your father's sister. Colorado did just beat St. Louis in St. Louis on Tuesday. They do have a bigger game, 2 big games coming up against Vegas on ABC and then Edmonton after that. So I don't see Colorado really coming into this game with a huge effort here. Yeah, they could win even without putting in a big effort here, but they're at minus 320, man, down from minus 345. I would look towards Calgary on the puck line here. 52% of the tickets on Colorado. 56% of the cash on Calgary. I mean, again, what is the motivation for Colorado here? There basically isn't any. So being that massive of a favorite, especially, again, because they just easily destroyed Calgary the last time. They might not even consider them to be, you know, a team, basically. So I agree with the money in that one. Calgary would be my lean in that one. But it is a huge mismatch, too. So even Colorado, not at their best, could still win that game. But you might get 2.5 on the puck line there. And then that is actually helpful because then you don't even have to worry about an empty net as much. Because the empty nets usually happen when a team's down 1 and they pull the goalie. It's less likely, and if that happens, then they're going to lose by 2 and still cover the 2.5, Nashville at Utah, this is a very interesting game. These teams are both fighting for playoff positioning. They're both wild cards right now. Utah does have some more padding here with a 4-point lead over Nashville. Nashville is very slightly ahead of the Kings and the Sharks right now, and really Winnipeg as well. Nashville has been playing well recently. They just beat Anaheim 5-0, but they are finishing a road trip here. They played a lot of games in quick succession here, man. It's a 3rd game in 4 days, 4th game in 6 days, and a 5th game in 8 days, all in different cities, and having to go from the Pacific Coast now into elevation. That's not that easy to do. So not the easiest spot for Nashville here. Utah, the spot's not that easy for them either. They just had a big win over Edmonton, although they are staying at home. That was a very difficult game. Big win in overtime. They have Carolina on deck. And the fact that they have more padding here means the urgency is going to be more on the Nashville side here. So for Nashville, it's just more about how tired are they going to be playing all these road games in quick succession. So Utah does have a bit of a rest advantage here, sort of, but they did return home from a road trip themselves in their last game. Difficult game to figure out, man. I have a slight lean towards Nashville here. Utah's down to -159, 87% of tickets, 98% of the cash on them. I'd prefer Utah to win just because I kind of like Utah. I like the turnaround they've had there. I like the mascot and whatever. I got my Utah jersey there, Keller or whatever his name is. Nashville, the shit that they did with Pride Night and whatever, the Predators, not much of a fan of them. So I'm kind of rooting for Utah. Oh, yes, I can make a drop, man. I haven't done too many drops.
Who do I root for? What do I do? Root for Utah! Utah!
I'm going to watch Celtic Pride again, man. Get me pumped up for the playoffs. It's a tradition of mine, but I didn't do it last year, and the Celtics had a horrible playoff, and Tatum got massively injured, so maybe it was my fault. I did watch it the previous year when they won the championship, and I'm in that movie as an extra with my dad, so gotta watch it again. It's a very underrated movie, man. It's totally stupid, but it's worth it. It's funny. Celtic Pride, baby. But yeah, I have a slight lean to Nashville in that one, even though I'm rooting for Utah. San Jose at Anaheim. Interesting game here, too. Anaheim is in the 3rd spot in the Pacific, so they're actually behind Utah, even though Utah's in a wild card spot. Anaheim needs to keep winning, man, but the Sharks are not that far behind. The Sharks are only 3 points out of a wild card, so these teams are both going to show up here, man. But San Jose is on a back-to-back. They played last night, so that's not that easy. They're only going from San Jose to Anaheim, so they're staying in California, but they still played last night. They did lose to Edmonton, and they will get up for this game, I think. But they did just beat Anaheim in San Jose back on the 1st, so they were not fooling around in that game. Maybe Anaheim will show up for that reason. Anaheim is on a big slide, man. It looked like for sure they were going to make the playoffs, and now they've lost 6 straight games. But they're in one of those positions where they're staying at home. They're coming off some massively ugly performances at home, losing to St. Louis, Calgary, getting shut out 5-0 by Nashville. And I talk about this. When a team gets blown out and shut out at home, a lot of times they put in a way better effort at home the next time. So I can't really disagree with Anaheim in this game, man. They're the more rested team. The money somehow is indicating on San Jose. I don't really see it. San Jose is the more urgent team here, sort of, but Anaheim's got a sense of urgency too. The only issue is they're laying a fairly big price here, up from -140 to -168. I would much rather have gotten it at -140. I don't want to play the game. 69% of the tickets on Anaheim, 78% of the cash on San Jose. Money indicating on San Jose. I lean to Anaheim. Anaheim is good at home as well, but you'd have to go like a -1 puck line or make your own -1 puck line or something on that one. to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't love the game really, though. I don't love that the market's disagreeing with me either. Yes, that Utah drop. Thank you. Yes. By the way, there's no hockey at all tomorrow. And then there's another huge hockey board on Saturday. So this is crazy. So tomorrow's going to be mostly baseball. All right. And baseball's been tricky to handicap, man. I think I'm slightly up in baseball so far because of that recent hot streak that we had. But yeah. Dude, oh my God. I totally forgot. How did I forget to put the ticker on today? My heart has not been working today. Dude, I totally forgot to put the ticker on. I apologize. I've been using this every day recently. I apologize, man. I completely forgot. I got to remember to put the ticker on, but there it is. It'll be on for the rest of the show. All right. Then we have Vegas and Seattle here. Vegas, they're probably going to make the playoffs, but then again, I mean, yeah, they're ahead of Anaheim in their division right now. They're in second. They're only 2 points behind the division lead, Edmonton. Yet, they're also tied with Utah, who's a wild card. The West is just wild, man. The Central is just so much better than the Pacific right now. It's insane. But Vegas, I think they've underperformed, man. A lot of overtime losses. I think Vegas is a very dangerous team. I think they're one of the better teams in hockey. Vegas has now won 4 straight. They're coming off an easy win over Vancouver, which is kind of whatever. They're still going to be motivated here, but they do have a big TV game against Colorado next. So I guess there is the potential look ahead here. And because Vegas is in a playoff spot right now, they might be feeling a little bit more secure. Seattle is the next team on the chopping block here, man. So Seattle is definitely in desperation mode, and they're probably going to get up for a game here against Vegas. They've lost 6 straight games, so they're not playing well, but that might mean you're going to get a big effort out of them here. One problem might be they're returning home from a road trip, but it was only Winnipeg, Minnesota. It was only Monday, Tuesday. But that does also mean they're playing a third game in 4 days, all in different cities, and that's not that easy. So I got to stay away from it, but I do think Vegas is going to be too heavy of a favorite here. They're up from minus 170 to minus 183. 68% of the tickets, 85% of the cash on Seattle. So the money indicating on Seattle, I would agree, but not too strongly, but I have a slight agreement with that with Seattle. You could maybe make your own +1 puck line or something on that one, but I don't want to do that either. Thank you, sir. Fake sports news, I don't know. I like the ticker here just because it is eye-catching and it gets people to look at it and see what I've been doing recently, tracking the results. Vancouver at the Kings. I'm not turning this into a satire show, although I do need to do something to make this funnier. But this ticker is also like, I don't even know how I would do a ticker like that. Like, this is just a StreamYard thing where you can just plug in what you want. All right. Vancouver has lost 3 in a row. I mean, they are the worst team in hockey. They just played pretty close against Vegas. So they're coming off a pretty big game. They really have nothing left to play for, but they do have a chance to play spoiler here. Starting a road trip, maybe they will be focused here, even though they're coming off a pretty big effort against Vegas. The Kings need this game, and they played 4 straight overtime games. So that could kind of take a lot out of you, man, although they have had 2 days off, which should help them a little bit. But they're coming off a big win over Nashville, which was a game with playoff ramifications, and they got Edmonton on deck, which is a bigger game as well. So I don't really love the spot for the Kings. We know all season I've been saying the Kings are not a very good home team either, and they're laying minus 270. No way. 89% of the tickets, 96% of the cash on the Kings. I know Vancouver sucks. I know they're the worst team in hockey. I don't think LA should be laying a price like that against anybody. And again, they're not even a good home team, so there's just no way. I'd lean to Vancouver on the puck line here. You might even be able to get like +2.5 on that. It's just, yeah, the line's just being way skewed towards the Kings because everyone knows they're the better team, but everybody knows how desperate they are. I mean, look at this. They're 1 point out of the last wild card spot right now, so it's a must win, and you're definitely paying for that in the market. So I would not pay for that. I would fade it, actually. All right, let's go to the NBA. Still, none of those opinions are really that strong, man. Like I said, I just couldn't really find that much to sink my teeth into today. There are 6 NBA games today. NBA, of course, we got to try to gauge motivation here as well. This end of season stuff for the NBA, it's very, very difficult to gauge motivation here. To figure out, are these teams actually trying to play for seeding? Usually the answer is no. I think the big motivators are trying to avoid the play-in at this point and trying to get into the different play-in spots so you don't have to play an extra game and whatever, and maybe trying to get home court in the playoffs. So that's basically about it. Miami and Toronto is kind of an interesting game because these teams are in the play-in picture here, although Miami's pretty much relegated to it right now. I guess there is an outside chance they could somehow get into the 7-8 game. Highly unlikely. So I think the motivation is going to be more on the Toronto side because they have a chance to drop out of the 6th seed, and they really don't want that. They do not want to have to play into the playoffs, and right now they're in the playoffs. So Toronto might have a little bit extra motivation here. But this is also a zigzag spot, so that's the problem here. Toronto just blasted Miami, and I thought Miami was a decent side in that game. Toronto annihilated them by almost 30 points in this same game at Toronto. And Toronto, I believe, was a 2.5-point favorite in that game, and in this game, they're 4.5 for no apparent reason because I don't think there were any key injuries or anything in that game, and it doesn't look like there are any in this game either, really. So how does Toronto go from a 2.5-point favorite to then a 4.5-point favorite in this game 2 days later? Same matchup, same arena. Is it it's entirely just because they won by almost 30 points? It seems like it is. Although I know I did just say Toronto does have more motivation here, but that also means, remember, that the pressure is going to be on them because we know they're trying to stay in the playoffs here and not fall into the play-in. Miami is guaranteed to be in the play-in now, although they do have an outside chance of getting up into the 7-8 game, although they're probably not going to be able to. But I'm going to lean towards Miami in this one, man. If you dig into the box score in that first game, I mean, the game was such a blowout on the scoreboard. You got to think there was some sort of outlier that happened in this game. And yeah, there was. Miami only shot 36% from the field, even though Toronto did dominate in some other ways. They dominated the rebounding battle, so that's not exactly good for Miami here. But Miami shot horribly in the game. Toronto did have more field goal attempts there, but Toronto almost hit 50% of them. Toronto was almost 50% from three-point range as well, whereas Miami was 27% and jacked up way more of them. And Miami just did not shoot well whatsoever. So I think there should be some regression there in the shooting department here. I expect this game to be closer. I think there's no reason for the line to be this much more on the Raptors at 4. They're also not a very good home team. As a home favorite, I don't think they actually do particularly well at covering. 73% of tickets, 74% of the cash on the Raptors. I'm going to lean towards taking the points with Miami, though, in that one, but I don't want to play it. But I think the zigzag is more of a factor in that one. And Toronto might take them less seriously because they just blew them out. You know what I mean? That's the other part about the zigzag, where when you just demolish this team, you're not going to take them as seriously the next time. And again, the pressure's on Toronto because they could easily fall into the play-ins here. Chicago at Washington, this is a terrible game. And also a zigzag. Chicago just blew out Washington in this same matchup here. In this game, Chicago was a 5.5-point favorite in that game. Chicago did out-rebound them, but not by much, by 6. Both teams shot about the same. So Chicago did actually outplay them in the game. They had more possessions. Chicago does take more threes, though. That's just the way that they play. And Washington missed a ton of their free throws. So that is kind of the tail of the game. That and the turnovers. Washington had a ton of turnovers, so maybe they'll clean that up a little bit and play a better game here. If you expect this to zigzag, Chicago is favored by more in this one than they were in the previous game at 6. So for no real reason at all, the line went up from 5.5 to 6. Really just based on the fact that Chicago blew Washington out in the previous game. You know, this is a game where neither team has a whole lot of motivation. I know I haven't been looking at who are these teams playing next, because in these games, I don't know if it matters that much. Well, for Miami and Toronto, I don't think either team is going to be unfocused in that game, so that's why I didn't really care about it. For this game, you know, will Chicago start looking ahead? I don't know, maybe. I mean, they got Orlando on deck. That's Chicago's final home game, and they're playing a team where Chicago does have a chance to maybe kind of play spoiler and that they could knock Orlando out of the top playing game or whatever. So I don't know if that's really that much of a motivator, but Chicago might look ahead, maybe consider that game to be bigger. They probably won't pay attention to Washington this time. So I guess I will lean to Washington here. The Bulls, 71% of tickets on them, 70% of the cash. So they're public side, and the money seems to kind of be agreeing with me on that Wizards side there. I also don't disagree with an over, and I know I said the last game was going to go over, and it did not. The total was crazy. It was like 251, and the game stayed pretty significantly under because the Wizards couldn't score at all, but because they kept turning it over. But I still think the over makes sense here, man, because you have two teams with nothing to play for, so usually that means the defense is not going to be intense. Now, I think there was some real value on it at 242.5 where it opened, but it's already up to 247.5, so that value has kind of been extracted there, although I know it's still 4 points lower than where it finished in the previous game, though, so maybe there is still a little bit of value there looking towards the over. I don't think I'd want to play an under here, but the money is indicating on it. 67% of tickets and 85% of the cash on the under. Still, I think it's over or pass for the total on that one again. I just think you can't really expect intense defense in a game like that. Same with Indiana and Brooklyn. I don't see how you get intense defense in a game like this. For Indiana, they're on a 3-game losing streak. They just got blown out at home by Minnesota. They do have Philadelphia and Detroit at home to finish the season off, so maybe they do overlook Brooklyn here still. Maybe a look ahead. Brooklyn somehow has won 2 games in a row. They've won 3 of their last 5, too. They beat Washington and Milwaukee. I mean, teams that are just not trying anymore. And an insanely low-scoring game, Brooklyn-Milwaukee. I thought that would be a higher-scoring game because, again, these games that don't mean anything, the defense usually doesn't show up. Now, Brooklyn might show up a little bit harder here because this is their last home game. And they're actually seemingly trying to get some wins here at the end of the season. So I kind of like the Nets in this one. Pacers might be looking ahead. Pacers are a 3-point favorite. They're the public side because nobody wants the Nets at all, and everybody still kind of sees the Pacers as not like this horrible team because they were in the final last year, and they've been in the playoffs the last couple of years. 69% of tickets on the Pacers, 63% of the cash on the Nets. I agree with leaning towards the Nets plus the points. I also agree with an over still in this game with two teams that still might not come out and play intense defense, like I said, because these teams are going nowhere. Total did go up from 221 to 224, though, so the value has been a little bit lost there. We do have a prime doubleheader here on Amazon Prime. Celtics-Knicks is the first game on tap between the two prime games, and probably the better game, but the problem is the Celtics are pretty much locked into the 2 seed now. They have a 3-game lead over the Knicks with 3 games to go, so the Knicks would have to win this game and win out, and the Celtics would have to lose all their remaining games. And actually, I don't even know who has the tiebreaker. I think the Knicks do have the tiebreaker. They might not, actually. If the Celtics win this game, the tiebreaker won't even come into play anyway. So the tiebreaker is only going to, the tiebreaker won't matter, actually. I think, right? Oh, no. It will matter, but if the Celtics lose this game, which is the only way they could wind up in a tie, the Knicks will have the tiebreaker because they'll be 3-1 head-to-head. So, that would be the only way. So, yes, the Knicks can overtake the 2 seed. It would take the Celtics losing both of their remaining home games to New Orleans and Orlando. Probably that's not going to happen. But the Celtics might not win this game. The Celtics did just beat Charlotte. Big win for them. The Celtics have come very close to wrapping up the 2 seed here. The Knicks probably will get up for this. The Knicks did just have a pretty nice win at Atlanta, though. But they've had a couple of days off. I think it's a fine spot for the Knicks here. We also know the Knicks are very good at home compared to on the road. They're way better at home, 28-9 at home. So in a theoretical Celtic-Knick second-round playoff matchup, the Knicks having home court advantage, I think, would matter. So the Celtics do want that. But we see this line here. And the Celtics, by the way, they're pretty decent on the road, too. 26-14, better than decent. But the Knicks are just really good at home. Now, You see the line here, though. The Knicks are a 4.5-point favorite, and they were supposed to be a 1-point favorite. 59% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the Knicks. So you know that means somebody is not playing for the Celtics here, because the Knicks are up to 4.5 now. Maybe that line's gone a little bit too high for the Knicks here at 4.5. We see Brown and White are pretty much the big guys on the injury report here. They're both game-time decisions, but I'm guessing one or both of them are not playing in this game, and that's why the Knicks are favored by this much, because they would not be otherwise. So that's something to keep in mind, but you know that sometimes when these teams rest players, sometimes they come out and they play better. Like, the Celtics are a deep team, and they're really well coached. Yeah, sometimes you've seen, they've done this before. The Celtics had those guys resting in, some recent game, and they won the game anyway, which was against, I think it was this first game, second most recent game that they played against Charlotte. I think that was the case in that game. I think they rested Brown and White in that game, and they still won easily. Now, I'm not going to say the Celtics are going to win this game. I hope they do, but I think maybe they won't. But I probably would not lay it with the Knicks. I don't know. The money is coming in on the Knicks, but I don't like the price. 57% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the Knicks. It wouldn't surprise me if the Knicks covered here. I don't really want to take the points with the Celtics. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, motivationally, you could see why the Knicks are, they're favored this way because the Celtics are probably resting guys. The motivation might not really quite be there for the Celtics here. I guess I will still lean to the Knicks there slightly, but I think if you want to play the Knicks, I would say what I said last night, even though I hate parlays. I did say last night Orlando moneyline parlay made more sense than laying the 7.5, although they did actually cover as well. But a moneyline parlay and that one made more sense to me, and it might make more sense in this game too. To moneyline parlay the Knicks with something else. So you really got to find something strong enough to overcome the fact that the books charge you too much on a parlay. You know what I mean? They don't give you enough money back. All right, Philadelphia at Houston is an interesting game as well. Philadelphia has a chance to escape the play-in still. They're only one game behind the Raptors, so they could still leapfrog them. So they still got something to play for, but they haven't been playing well, even with that motivation on their side. Houston has a chance to overtake the Lakers and get a home series in the first playoff round, which is probably going to be against the Lakers. Houston would probably prefer to have a home advantage there. And it might happen because the Lakers are just massively injured now. So Houston does have some motivation here as well for that reason. Philadelphia's in the middle of a road trip. They do have motivation. They will be an underdog in this game. They're coming off that game where they did not cover for us. I gave them out as a play on Monday against San Antonio. Philadelphia, they were hanging around most of that game, and they fell short. San Antonio's really good. I'm not happy about that, but that is the case. That's what happened. Of course, Philadelphia, this number 0, by the way, next to Maxey always throws me off because I keep thinking it's the O that means that he's out, although that O is red, but still. Yeah, nobody, except for, Houston lost Steven Adams for the rest of the season. He's still a pretty good defender, but no real huge injuries here on either side. Of Philadelphia, we know they're a pretty much intact team now. Houston just beat Phoenix on the road. Houston's returning home from a road trip here, but it was a quick road trip Sunday and Tuesday, but it did take them to Golden State, to the Pacific Coast, and to Phoenix. Houston's playing well right now. They won 7 in a row to pull into a tie with the Lakers now. Possible they overlooked this game, though, because they're still returning home from a road trip. You got home distractions coming in, and they do have a pretty big game against Minnesota up next, even though Minnesota's not going to be able to catch Houston. And again, Houston does still want to get this home series here, so that's what they have to play for. But I think that's a little bit less of a motivator. I'm going to slightly lean to the Sixers here, even though the money is coming in on the Rockets a little bit, but they are public. They're -4, 83% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on the Rockets. I kind of like the Sixers plus the points there, but not a strong opinion for me in that one either. I think I was just about to say one other thing, but I can't remember what it was now. Oh, yeah, Houston is good at home, though. That's something to keep in mind in this game. 28-10 at home is quite good. Philadelphia, not horrible on the road, though. They're above 500 on the road, which isn't too bad. Lakers at Golden State. Of course, we know the Lakers are really faltering with these injuries now. They haven't won since they lost Luka and Reeves. Both, I think, are out for the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs. I thought the Lakers would bounce back and do better in the next game against OKC, but that did not happen. They did not do even okay in that game. They got blown out. But maybe it'll be good to just go on the road, play a Golden State team that's really not that good. Maybe the Lakers will show something in this game. And if you look at the standings, the Lakers are still trying to cling to that 4 spot to try to get home advantage in the playoffs. Whereas Golden State, they're locked into the last play-in game at this point, pretty much. They are. They could, I think, potentially get the home game instead of a road game there, but that's really all they could do. So I don't know how much motivation they really have, because they're going to be playing either the Clippers or Portland in that first game, and they have an outside chance of getting a home game there, but they probably are not going to be able to do it. I don't know if that's going to be enough motivation. It is a home game on Amazon Prime, though, so maybe that will motivate them. Steph Curry is back for Golden State, so while the Lakers lost 2 of their best players, Golden State got their best player back. So there is that. Some other guys are on the injury report here for Golden State, but whatever. So, yeah, that's just the injury situation there. For Golden State, they just beat Sacramento, and it was not an impressive win. That was the first win that they had since Curry came back. Curry came back in the previous game against Houston. Houston's a good team, though. Golden State beating Sacramento by 5, not impressive at all. I think they will actually show up, even because it's just against the Lakers, and it's also their final home game, and it is on Amazon Prime, so I actually don't really think Golden State's going to overlook this game, and the money is coming in on them. Tickets are 50-50. Golden State's 77% of the cash on them at -4.5. And even though the public knows that these injuries are going on, you got to think they're still looking at this and saying, look at these teams' records, and they're not going to want to lay 4.5 with a below 500 Golden State team, you know. Although Golden State's home record is not that much worse than the Lakers' road record. Yeah, I mean, I'll lean with the market slightly. I'll lean towards Golden State, but not a strong opinion from me there either. All right, that's going to do it, man. We got no plays today. I apologize for that, but that's just the way that I do it, man. I got to be selective. I'm not going to try to force anything. You know, like I said, if I had anything that was that strong, it wouldn't be in the NBA at all. Like the NBA, I don't love at all. I kind of like Columbus in hockey. I don't know if I really had that much of an, I don't think I had much of a strong opinion otherwise in hockey either, really. Like I was talking about, you saw my breakdown on it. Maybe Columbus there, and then in baseball, maybe the Cincinnati Reds. Maybe Miami's taking some money now, though, by the way. I'll show you real quickly. Miami's getting some later money here as we're getting closer to game time here. I don't know. That makes me not love it as much. There's that, and then I did kind of like the Mets, I guess, so do with that information what you want. That, and I guess Kansas City over a team total there or something. I don't know, but those were my kind of stronger leans. But it's just a bad board today, man, for the way that I do things. So, but I appreciate everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. You can subscribe to me on Twitter. That helps me out as well. Obviously, like, subscribe. Tell people about the YouTube here. We got to try to get to at least 500. Get to 1,000, man, and monetize. Let's go. Let's get people watching this thing. So help me out there. We're on audio, Apple, Spotify. We've had an increase in numbers since I was able to get back on Spotify. Which, unfortunately, when they nuked my account for spam falsely, it took me down from Spotify. I didn't realize it, but we were on the audio. It helps. Listening on Spreaker helps, too. There's a bit of a boost there, so that's all monetized. It doesn't mean there are ads, unfortunately, but if you want to listen on audio, I appreciate it. Give me good reviews over there. Appreciate that, too. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel, but, dude, I think, I don't know, dude. I definitely hurt my thumb somehow playing that uke the other day. I haven't been able to do it. My voice is kind of a mess, but my thumb is messed up somehow. I don't know if it's like a bone issue or a muscle issue. I don't know. I don't think I could really go that hard with the uke right now. I got to let my hand heal. It's all crap. Because I don't know. I want to do more with the uke. But Covered in Uke on YouTube. You can check that out. Patreon.com/LearnToToad, where I don't put out enough content whatsoever. I know. I got to figure out something better to do. Maybe I should do more betting content. Do Patreon only, maybe. I don't know, for some of my betting stuff. Maybe the bracket streams and stuff like that. Well, I don't know, because I'm going to try to get Clint back on, by the way, for an episode of Bald to talk about the NBA playoffs and get his predictions for the NBA playoffs. He's not going to be happy because he's a Laker fan. But, yeah, I'm going to talk to him, see if he wants to do an episode of Bald. I think he mentioned that he would do it again, so maybe we can get that going. I'm going to do an NHL playoff bracket as well. I got the champion right last year, so we'll see. And then, yeah, so be on the lookout for that. If you subscribe to the channel here, you'll see those things come up. You'll be notified of those. And I think that's it. Oh, Loser Cast. There might be a Loser Cast tonight, but if there is, I'm not going to be on it. Just to cater to Adam Nutter, even though I don't even know who that guy is. He's not on the show. What? So it's going to be a completely different dynamic if there is a Thursday Loser Cast where I get replaced by Adam Nutter. And I think that's going to do it. Losercast, I'm on the Tuesday ones. You can go watch that one from Tuesday. I thought it was a pretty good episode. So you can check that out. You can vote for my loser, which was the crew of the Artemis 2. The Artemis Poo. Fartemis Poo. I can't say too much here. Don't want to get this channel banned. But that's going to do it. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll probably have some plays tomorrow. It's going to be all baseball for the most part, though. There will be some NBA, too. But, I'm really treading lightly with the NBA, but the playoffs, I'm definitely going to have plays in the playoffs with the what do we call it? Not really the zigzag anymore, but it's the selective zigzag, let's call it, is what I do in the NBA playoffs now, and it works pretty well. So that's what we're going to have going on. That's going to do it. Peace, guys.